All right, everybody, we are back again. Welcome back to College Football Focus. We are finishing up our conference previews for 2025. And today we hit on our final conference, which is Conference USA. On the surface, there doesn't appear to be a lot of intrigue as one team looks to be better than everybody else, but there are emerging and declining teams, a couple of new teams in the league. We will get into all of that momentarily with our guests. Before we do, though, if you enjoy this content and do not want to miss an episode, please punch those like and subscribe buttons so you can be notified when a new episode goes up. We are joined today by Brenden of Gridiron Uncensored, and we are going to go over all things Conference USA. Brenden, how are you doing today?
Hey, Mike, doing good. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to talk about Conference USA with you.
Yeah, it kind of gets lost in the wash sometimes, probably because most people think, along with the MAC, it's competing to be maybe the weakest of the group of five. But they always have those slots in the middle of the week. They kind of get themselves attention, and invariably there are always some games that go sideways, and you're going, okay, what did I just watch? So I'm sure that we can expect some of that this season. When you think Conference USA, I guess the biggest name brand has been Liberty, and they will be one of the storylines this year. But for me, the storyline, I guess, is how much change there is in the league. You've got some new head coaches, you've got two new teams in Delaware and Missouri State. And then for next year, you've got UTEP going to the Mountain West. And we just got word a couple days ago, and really the vote was today, that Louisiana Tech is going to be going to the Sun Belt. So for me, the prevailing storyline is kind of change, both now and for the future. Is there any kind of one thing that you're following that you think is going to be pervasive in Conference USA?
It's certainly the change. You know, you mentioned a lot of new coaches in, but you mentioned Louisiana Tech's departing, UTEP's moving on, and then you've got the new blood, Delaware and Missouri State coming in. There's talk of maybe trying to bring in new teams. There's like Tarleton State, stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. But that's interesting. And then, of course, for me, Jack State, after Rich Rod leaving, that's an interesting storyline on how they do. And then if, Liberty can get back to the top.
Yeah, I think with Jacksonville State, I think it's going to be a really interesting change. I think that the offense is going to change, and he recruited a lot of those types for that RPO sort of offense.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what Charles Kelly does. But yeah, there's no shortage of storylines this season in Conference USA. So let's get right to it. First team is one of the new teams, the Delaware Blue Hens. There is talent on hand. They have been very good in FCS the last few seasons. Ryan Carty knows how to win. He's got 26 victories in his 3 seasons at the helm. They've got a couple of good receivers in Jake Thaw. They've got Jake Thaw at receiver, Keyshawn Hunter at nose guard. They could surprise early because the schedule maybe has a couple of wins, but the thing I wonder with them that I will also wonder with Missouri State is week in and week out playing a schedule that is going to be tougher than what the FCS is. How consistent can they be in winning? And then this November stretch where they play Liberty, La Tech, Sam Houston, and Wake Forest, that to me is going to be really grueling and interesting.
I agree. And, you look at what they bring back, they had a really good season last year. They're ineligible for, the title game from my understanding, but really an interesting team. And I don't think people should sleep on them. But I worry about depth. From moving up to the league, like you said, more competition. And that stretch, Liberty, Louisiana Tech, Sam Houston, even or in Western Kentucky, they're in that middle slot between the 2 bye weeks. And with how much they've retooled, I know we'll talk about them later, but it's a tough schedule. And UConn on the outer conference, Colorado as well. So it's going to be tough sledding, but I mean, you bring back, 2 returns at quarterback, solid running backs, 3 starters on the line. So, I mean, I think there's possibility for them to do something, good this year, but it's going to be tough in year one. It's hard to jump up, levels.
Yeah, it is. And I think that they are a team that as they get in, once they really start recruiting for that area, I think that they will probably be a little more consistently in the mix. And I mean, I don't think it's going to be a bad year by what a lot of people would define, but I think it's going to be hard pressed to get to 500, and that may be the goal, just because again they're used to winning at the FCS level.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure it's realistic this year for the reason you said. Mostly it's depth. When you jump up, what worked against FCS competition, you're incrementally, even if your conference is not seen as all that great, instead of playing the teams you're playing a Liberty, you're playing a Jacksonville State, teams that have
Hmm.
consistently gone to bowl games. And so
For
it's
sure.
just going to be the week to week grind. I think that's something that they're going to have to get used to.
Agreed. Yeah.
Moving on, Florida International. I think they made maybe one of the best hires of the entire offseason. Of all the teams that changed coaches, they hit a home run with Willie Simmons. He knows how to recruit Florida as well as anybody. He's also got a couple of players. Kewan Jenkins at quarterback, running back Keyshawn Owens, and Brian Blades the second. Yes, the name is familiar. Miami lineage. Going to get things going sooner rather than later. It's probably not going to be this year, though, just because of the depth, and they have questions up front on both sides of the football. But in terms of skill positions, I think this is going to be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I agree. Quarterbacks, fine. I agree with Owens at running back. They do return 41% production. And just last year, it's getting over those one score losses. I think they were 1-5 in one score games last year. So it's like, if you can just get over that hump, FIU, they're close. They know what's there. They see it. It's in their grasp. So I think Willie Simmons is a good hire for them. Defense, like you said, depth wise, they only return one starter. The transfers in, they're going to try their best, but it's going to be tough sledding, I think, for this squad in 25. But I like the direction they're moving.
Yeah, those one score games, those have a tendency to flip. Just like with turnovers, if you lost the ball a lot the year before, that kind of flips around. And the one score thing, and I know a lot of it is luck, but
Sure.
it just the ball seems to bounce the other way in a subsequent season
Yeah.
when you have been on the wrong end of those. So maybe if they even just get two of those, it flips around and they can get to the postseason. And I think that should be what they aspire to for this year.
Absolutely.
Jacksonville State, they are a team. Obviously, they had made their bones with Rich Rodriguez. He is back home at West Virginia, and in steps Charles Kelly. I think the offense is going to look a little bit different. There is going to be a battle at quarterback, and I think that could limit the ceiling just because I don't know how settled that's going to be. And the offensive line, which was one of the strengths, lost its best player when Will Osteen transferred to North Carolina. Now, they do have a really nice 1-2 punch at running back with Cam Cook and Andrew Paul. Andrew Paul started his career at Georgia. So maybe they decide to control the clock and keep a questionable defense on the sideline. That, to me, looks like the recipe for success for them.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wrote down on my notes as well. I mean, with so much changeover in the rosters, 28% returning production from the year prior, and I mean that's just difficult, no matter who you are, to have a good season after that. But I mean, you go in, you got to have some sort of ball control. You've got to keep the defense that was gutted, even though that's his background, and Coach Kelly. Still, you've got to be able to keep them on the sideline. You got to hold on and try to get some downs moved on the ground, burn as much clock as you possibly can, to keep something and hopeful. And then you look at the schedule. It's at least the way I look at it, it starts off tough. You get your 3 straight. Georgia Southern's tough. Liberty, of course, and UCF, and then that middle section with Sam Houston, Delaware, could maybe catch you. So they've got a tough schedule too. The way it shakes out.
Yeah, and it's always tough for like year one of a coach. You're learning the system, you're changing the culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's rare that year one of a new coach just goes boffo. And considering how good Jacksonville State has been, it's only natural that they're going to take a step back. It's just a question, how big of a step is it
Right.
going to be? So, but they're a team that I'm definitely looking at just because they've had one definite mentality the last few seasons, and you wonder, is it going to be different? So, Kennesaw State, they're a team, I'm probably a little bit higher on them than a lot of people. I'm seeing them last, next to last in the league. And I know that a lot of that is tied to the way that the coaching situation went down at the end of last season. Jerry Mack comes in and he led North Carolina Central to a lot of dominance in the MEAC. So winning is not something he's foreign to. Now, things are going to be a bit tougher. I do think the defense will be physical. They've got a really nice guy coming off the edge in Tylon Dunlap and a linebacker who could be all league in Denelius Johnson. They also improved the quarterback play. Dexter Williams, who's been hurt the last couple of seasons, he comes in from Georgia Southern and he has some experience. And the secondary might be the best in the conference. They have two really good corners in Jericho Washington and Tyler Hallam, and safety Traquan Fegans. Now, that group is going to need to create turnovers. They only had 12 all of last season if they're going to take a step forward, because if the offense does struggle the way people think, then the defense is going to be on the field a lot. So if they can turn people over, get some 3 and outs, they might be able to pull some surprises. So Kennesaw State is actually a team I'm somewhat high on in terms of being solid to decent.
Yeah, and it's, for me, a lot of that stems. I always talk returning production. Just, there's good returning production. There's, some of it doesn't matter. Like if you're Oklahoma State last year, top at the end, and then you fall apart. But they bring back for Kennesaw State 74%. I think the offense is going to have this transition period, and really the quarterback's the biggest question to me. Are they going to be able to replicate, anything, moving forward? What they brought in. Offensive line's got a bunch of transfers. They're trying to build from the ground up there, it seems. But I agree. The defense, you've got experience, good amount of Power 4 talent coming in from the portal. So, I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting team. I don't think they'll be the bottom of the barrel. Like I've seen that as well when you look around, and just trying to do research on this conference. But I think they're going to be probably surprise somebody. I mean, they got Liberty last year. So that's something to build on.
Yeah, it definitely is. And that one I think was maybe one of the biggest head scratchers of the season. But they also, I mean, down the stretch, they were fairly competitive. I mean, they lost by 1 score to UTEP, 1 score to Sam Houston. They beat FIU by a point. And then of course it all went to hell against Louisiana Tech, but 3 games there that maybe could have gone a different way. And maybe we're thinking a little bit different of them because their record looks a bit different. So
sure.
I think Kennesaw State might be a team that surprises some people. One team that I don't think is going to surprise anybody, because most people have them as the prohibitive favorite for the league, is Liberty. Now, they went into last season as a pretty big favorite and did not meet expectation, but they're about as stable as you can get with their coaching situation. Jamie Chadwell heads into his 3rd season, has another team that's capable of winning the conference crown. They are going to count on transfer quarterback Ethan Vasco to run the offense. But it's the defense that's really going to, I think, make some waves. They did lose TJ Bush to Cal. He is a really good sack guy. He led them in sacks last season. But they still have CJ Bazile and safety Brylan Green. And Brylan Green is a guy that I've really liked his entire career. A late September home game with James Madison is going to show whether they are truly contenders for a CFP berth after last year. And the thing with Liberty is always people talk about is their schedule. I mean, they went undefeated and had 1 loss, and they never sniffed the CFP for the group of 5 because their schedule is typically ranked 130, 133, whatever. Some of that's a byproduct of being in Conference USA, but I think beefing that up with James Madison could help a little bit. But I think the defense is going to carry the day for this team, at least early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Once Vasco gets in, and if he gets settled in with the offense, maybe you'll see it take off a little bit more. But it always, to me, that you get a new quarterback in, you're still coming out of fall, that early season, and you look at at least they play Maine to start, so that you kind of get a little buffer room there. But then you're right into Jackson State. I know we mentioned they're retooling a lot, but still, they're a gritty team, so you got to watch out. So Liberty, they returned 59%. They've got good receivers. The defense, like you mentioned, you bring in Hester and Farrar too to help with the sack, sack production. There's a lot of reps, a lot of experience in the unit. I think they're going to be right up there again.
Yeah, I think it would be a monumental upset if they didn't at least make the title game. I think that Chadwell will be really disappointed because they seem to be at a roster advantage over just about everybody in the conference. Another team that I'm watching closely, Louisiana Tech, went to a bowl game last year. Odd circumstances because Marshall, basically everybody opted out after Charles Huff, the coaching fiasco going on there. So Louisiana Tech went into the bowl game to play Army despite having just 5 wins. So technically, Sonny Cumbie can say, I've got a bowl game on my resume. But at Louisiana Tech, he has yet to have a 500 record. So it's kind of now or never for them. He may get a reprieve. This looks like his best team to date. There were 4 losses by 1 score. And as I said earlier, those often turn around the following year. Evan Bullock could be the league's top quarterback, and Omari Wiggins can move the chains in the backfield. Watch for receiver Devin Gandy, who comes up from FCS. He could bring some explosiveness to the passing attack, and I think that maybe folks are so used to Louisiana Tech being closer to the bottom. I think that they're a team that's really going to surprise some folks, and they'll be squarely in the mix for the championship game berth.
That's my thoughts too. To me, a lot of it depends on the offensive line. Just getting those reps going and building that cohesion on the team with 46% returning production, across the entire team. But you mentioned Bullock. I mean, I think you said the best quarterback in the in the league, probably again. And then the defense, they did lose a bunch in the front end. But the back end's got vets. They've got guys that have played plenty and they can fill their roles well. But you look at the schedule, and you got LSU early, whatever. But then you go in, and I think the way it breaks down is pretty nice. Southern Miss early, UTEP, which is I think going to be a strong team as well. We'll talk about them in a little bit, and then you finish out with Liberty, in Washington State. So. Those are great moments for them to show that, hey, we're moving into this new conference. You guys are going to miss us. All right. Because a lot of people are talking bad about Louisiana Tech right now on the timeline. And
I think they are. And I think it's just because of the people see the relative strength of the Sun Belt versus the relative strength of Conference USA. And I think they're figuring if you can't be competitive in Conference USA, then what are you really bringing to the Sun Belt? But I agree. If the football can get going this year, then I think they get some momentum heading into their new conference next season. If it's another 4 or 5 win season, then who knows? Maybe it will be buyer's remorse at some point.
And let's not forget they did beat Miami 5 years ago, 6 in a bowl game. So hey, maybe they'll bring that back.
There we go. That could definitely work. Middle Tennessee, kind of one of those enigma teams. I think people thought a little bit more about them last year because Derek Mason was coming in and he had coaching experience at the power conference level. But their defense, and that's what his pedigree is, their defense was just terrible. They were last in the league in most categories, and they just could not stop people. But they do have 7 starters back, and they should be a better group. Brandon Buckner decided to stick around at edge, and linebacker Parker Hughes could challenge for the league lead in tackles this season. They're another one with an experienced quarterback, Nicholas Battiato. He's a keeper, but the offensive line needs to get better in front of him, and they need to find consistent guys who can be playmakers in the backfield and at receiver.
Yeah, 2024, you mentioned it, very rough, and that's not what they want. They got a friend on Twitter who's a big Middle Tennessee fan, and he's got high expectations this season. You got continuity on the staff, a veteran quarterback coming back, so he thinks there's going to be a nice push from what they saw last year. I agree, the defense has to step up, and to me that's the biggest question. They had some solid portal pickups from what I've been looking at, but I don't know if they're going to do it like he expects. But we'll see. I'd be happy if they do. They're right up the road from where I grew up. So that'd be pretty cool.
That's always good. And I think that if you've got a quarterback with experience who has shown he can play, I think that that's part of the battle because so many teams now are looking for a quarterback. And you have to think in year two, maybe some of the problems were just implementing a new defense. And because Mason has shown he knows what he's doing when it comes to scheming defenses and things like that. So it could have been the typical first year bumpy road.
Yeah.
And they should be better this year. Heck, if they even move up to 6th or 7th in the league in defense, that's going to be, I think, a big enough step that if the offense does its job, I think that people are going to be happier in Murfreesboro this season.
Agreed.
Missouri State, another one of the new teams, along with Delaware. For them, it's going to be offense, and more offense. They have quarterback Jacob Clark. He's a gunslinger. He produced big numbers last season, and he's operating behind an offensive line that has 4 starters back. So continuity up front is always important. The defense could get a boost from Oregon State transfer DJ Wesolak on the defensive front. He's a guy who's played a lot of football, but they're probably going to struggle with the back 7 after a ton of portal departures. But you know what? Even if they don't win a lot of games, they should be entertaining because Bobby Petrino's son, Nick, is calling the shots. And if he's anything like Dad, you can expect that they're going to dial up a surprise or two in every game.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it, and been fun to play with them on the college football video game too. I've been using them, but I mean they bring back 60% production. They were the 5th ranked FCS offense, last year, according to Bill Conley and in his SP plus. But I agree, offensive line transfers, that's going to be big. They did get some weapons back with Blackstrain and Robinson, and really they got some beef in the middle up front. But you mentioned the defensive backside. I'm curious to see how they hold up in this season. I mean, it's going to be a tough year. You play, especially early on, SMU, USC, Western Kentucky. I mean, it's not an easy schedule, but it'll be fun to watch them. I'm excited to see how they hold up.
Yeah, and if they have some of the same depth concerns as Delaware,
Yeah,
those first 2 games, they got to hope nobody gets hurt.
absolutely.
Because when you're playing a game like that, like those teams, like a USC and the teams that they're playing, sometimes the talent disparity is very stark, and you end up getting a frontline guy or 2 hurt. And when you don't have the reserves, then a season that maybe you expected to go one way suddenly might turn for the worse. So I think that's going to be a big thing for them. They know they're not going to win those. Be somewhat competitive, come out of those healthy. Then you can focus on Conference USA.
Agreed.
New Mexico State. Things are probably going to be a little bit more settled in year 2 with Tony Sanchez. I know that they didn't go as they had hoped with winning just a handful of games last season, but I think the offense especially should make some strides. They have a couple of really good receivers in PJ Johnson and TJ Pride, PJ and TJ. But the defense could not bother the quarterback at all last year, and it's going to need to improve. They do have a pretty solid linebacker in Sony Apui, I believe. I usually am good about these names, but the short ones seem to give me more problems than the long ones do. The defense has to, though, get better. It allowed 14 points more per game in 2024 than it did the previous season, and allowed 30 or more 10 times last season. You're not going to win a lot of games doing that.
Yeah, you're not. And again, you look at what they bring in. David Yost at the offensive coordinator. Is Fife going to come in and take the job? I've seen a lot of talk about that happening. I could see it. You did lose your top rushers and your offensive linemen, but the portal helps there. You got Callaway coming in, Stanley. Top receivers do return. The defense, you mentioned the back end's good, but the front, you got to get after the quarterback. You've got to find some way. And they did try to, go in for the portal, but I'm curious to see how they'll really impact that game up front. It's so hard to do, at this level to really try and, go out and get top end, like even from, backups in the group Power 4, to come in and try and be part of this program. It's not an easy place to coach, but I like what Sanchez is trying to do here, and I'm curious to see how they play out this season. It's 2025. I mean, the schedule's it's not bad. It's not great, but there's some room there for them to improve.
Yeah, I was able to actually see their stadium a couple of years ago. We did a family trip to New Mexico, and so I got to see Albuquerque. I got to see the Lobos and the Aggie stadiums. And Las Cruces is a nice area, and I know that when they
Yeah.
win, that people get behind them. It's just when you get a good player for a team like that, a power team comes in and plucks them,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're sort of left with, okay, you have to become a development thing. And when you've got a first year coach like Sanchez was last year, it's hard
Yeah.
to develop in year one. So I'm sure that they're hoping that familiarity and I guess attention to detail probably will be a little bit better this year. Should they be better than 3 wins? Sure. How much better? I don't know.
Yeah.
A bowl might be their ceiling, but as you said, the schedule isn't the worst in the world, so maybe they knock somebody off and can get a victory or two more than is being expected. Sam Houston is a team that has really been, I think, a pleasant surprise. Now, they did lose their coach. Casey Keeler goes to Temple, but they do have a new boss in Phil Longo. The offense should be a little more high tempo behind quarterback Hunter Watson and receivers Quavez Humphreys and Michael Phoenix II. Now, they are going to have a lot of transfers on defense, but there may not be much of a drop off from last year's 10-win campaign. I really like the linebackers on this team, and I got a chance to see him play in person. Akron transfer Antavius Fish is a guy who's quick, he's big, and I think he could maybe be an all-league player. And Sam Houston has kind of made itself known by its defense the past couple of seasons, and I think the defense should still be pretty good this year to set them up for another solid season.
Yeah, I think people were shocked to see Sam Houston come in at 10 wins last year. Like, especially just the fan that they don't really do the previews like we do. They don't do the research. And they just come out of nowhere. It's 10 wins. And like, oh man, who is this team? Where did they come from? So yeah, I'm excited to see what Longo does in this first year. I agree. I think the offense is going to be fine. I know there's going to be some retooling, but I mean, you bring back returning quarterback, receivers, offensive linemen, now, you still only 39% returning production across the team, and a lot of that's from the defense. But I think they're going to be just fine. I don't know. I just something about this team and the way their culture is. I think they're going to be all right. They start off with some tough games though, Western Kentucky and then UNLV, which I feel like are like the same type of team. Total
Right.
rebuilds with a lot of talent, and then Hawaii that Timmy Chain's trying to get stuff rolling there. So it's a tough start. Texas after that, but after that, sure, give it a run and see what you can do. I'm excited to watch this team this year.
And the thing that Sam Houston does is they make opponents play their style, and that usually is good. It can confound a team that is better than they are, but it's like these guys are kind of inflicting their will on us. Why is that happening? And it also wasn't that long ago when they were FCS. They played for the FCS championship a few years ago. So
Yeah.
I don't think that the success is all that surprising to folks who have followed the program and who have followed the higher level of FCS, because they were right there in the last few seasons. UTEP, another team that is kind of going through a transition. Scotty Walden has been a really good offensive coordinator over the years. He's recruiting lights out. They're really starting to get some of the, relatively speaking, some of the better players in Texas. Obviously, the best ones go to A&M and to Texas and to other places, but they're getting an uptick in talent. It's starting to show on the roster. There's a lot to build on offensively with Skylar Locklear and Cam Thomas and Kenny Odom. Those two guys are dynamic receivers. And on defense, they've got Katie Johnson. Now, there are a lot of young faces that are going to be in the starting lineup. That means that they may not improve a ton, but they also could surprise. I think Walden was a really good hire. They host both Louisiana Tech and Liberty. And if they can knock off just one of those teams, they could be in line for their third winning season since 2005.
Yeah, and I mean, what a way to do it with when you're going out of conference. You're leaving, you're heading on the Mountain West. What an interesting year it would be for them to maybe show out. You mentioned they've got good coordinators coming in, a lot of transfers. I know people have talked about Malachi Nelson still, but to me, we haven't seen it. It's something that I'm still rolling with Locklear here. Defense has plenty of experience, a lot of portal help there. I kind of like this team, man. I'm excited about them, and they might be a surprise pick for me. I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, the schedule, yeah, you got Texas week 3, but Louisiana Tech, ULM, and UT Martin early, along with Utah State. I see a lot of wins on this schedule, and especially at the very end there. If you roll early, you could probably get through that back end unscathed if things play out right.
Yeah. Plus they play in the Sun Bowl, and so that's always nice. They've got the bleachers carved out of stone on the visitor side.
I love that
That's
venue.
and that was, I saw that one on that same New Mexico trip, but they had just left town. It was one of those midweek games, and so the stadium was locked up. I couldn't get in. I was trying to look for any way to get in, and the only way in would have been on the highway. I would have had to jump over stuff. It's like, I'm too old to be. I'm not doing any parkour or anything like that at my
Risky
age.
business.
So it is. So, but yeah, I would like to see them win too, because there was a time not that long ago that they also were a pretty competitive team,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been able to win. And I know that area, they love their football in Texas. So if this thing can get humming with Scotty Walden, I think people will pay attention. Last but certainly not least, Western Kentucky. They have been one of the staples of the league. They've been very consistent. Tyson Helton is the longest tenured coach in the conference and has a squad that on paper anyway looks like one that can contend for the league crown. On defense, they've got corner Kent Robinson. He's one of the better cover guys in the league. Not a lot of depth though on that side. And their October game with Sam Houston, to me, is must-see TV. That could have a huge impact on the league race. Now, the offense, which normally just puts up points in bunches, dipped by a touchdown last year, and that they averaged their fewest points since 2020. But they're bringing in a new coordinator in Rick Bowie from Abilene Christian, who brought his quarterback with him, Maverick McIver. It's going to take over an offense, and that should improve because the receivers have some experience. And I think that just the pace of play is going to kind of be, people are going to be used to seeing Western Kentucky playing fast again and playing loose and dynamic on offense. And that should get them back to their winning ways.
Yeah. And I know a lot of Western Kentucky fans are upset about, the changeover that they didn't get picked to go to the next conference. And, that doesn't matter right now. Well, you still got a team to field, and you got to go out there and, prove the haters wrong if that's what you're going to do. And I like what they have on this team. I mean, yes, you got changeover on the staff, but you bring in, you mentioned Rick Bowie, the co-defensive coordinators. There's familiarity there with McIver and Bowie. That to me is huge. They've done it before in the past, bringing up, guys from the lower level, and then they just go off. So it's just really, for me, how quick can this team gel? A lot of transfers, 43 in, 37 out. So they're total changeover. And that's why I mentioned it's like UNLV in this conference. So much changeover, but except you've got a coach that's been there for a long time, and he's ready to rock and roll. So there's culture there. There's some continuity on what he brings to the table. And it's just really how fast can everybody gel for me. And, maybe they shock some people and actually tear it up, because I know a lot of people think, it's so much turnover, it can't be done. We'll see.
Yeah, I will say I would like them a lot more. They might even be my favorite if Caden Veldkamp had stuck around at quarterback.
Yeah.
He was a guy they were familiar with. He had shown some in the bowl game in 2023, was a little bit up and down, but at least had some experience. And so I think if he was back and they didn't have the new QB, then I'd like them a lot more. But I'm with you. I still think that they're a team that may exceed the expectations that some people have, because I think people look at last year, the offense is dipping, the defense lost a lot, and they're not going to be as good. But when you've established yourself as kind of like one of the benchmark programs in the league,
sure,
especially when you've got an experienced coach like Helton is, I don't think that you just kind of drop off a cliff right away. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
I agree. I'm excited for it.
We are going to move on now to true false. Pretty self-explanatory. I ask a question and you tell me whether you think it is true or false. You can expound on it or you don't have to. Let's get right into it. First one, an unbeaten Liberty misses out again on a CFP berth due to its schedule. Is that true or false?
I'm going to say true. I think, I mean, the college football playoff committee has shown that they do follow, strength of schedule as much as the SEC says they don't. There's a reason Alabama and all them are right there. So I think it would suck for fans of Liberty, but I think it could happen.
Yeah, I tend to think that they've not given Liberty a whole lot of credence, even in the couple of seasons when they looked like they were one of the best G5 teams. So,
Agreed.
Second one of the two new teams, Delaware or Missouri State, goes winless in conference play. True or false?
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say true. I don't know. I feel like it's the depth issue.
Yeah, again, it's one thing to maybe play a team like that once, maybe twice a year, but when you've got the roster disadvantage and you're playing those teams that are equal or better than you every week, then yeah, it's tough to come by wins. Third one, if Louisiana Tech fails to reach a bowl game this year, and let me amend that, if Louisiana Tech fails to finish above 500, then Sonny Cumbie is out.
I think so. I'm gonna go true.
Yeah, I tend to agree too. I think that they've had some pretty high expectations for him, and so far they have not been met. But again, this does look like one of his best teams. So I would be surprised if they don't, at the very least, reach a bowl game.
And if they're moving into a new conference, you want to be ready to go. You don't want to be going off of poor expectations. So
no, certainly not. Jacksonville State misses the postseason for the first time in its FBS history. It's been in the FBS 3 years. They were the first team ever to make the jump from FCS to FBS and make a bowl game their first year. They've gone to the postseason every year of their FBS, but this year missed the postseason. True or false?
That's tough because I've been looking at them and just teetering on the edge of it, but I'm gonna say false. I think they find a way to make it. I don't know the culture of it. They've been so fun to watch since they've joined. So I'm gonna say false. They're making it.
All right, and then the last one, Willie Simmons at Florida International. He has gone 8 for 8 in winning seasons as a head coach. He makes it 9 for 9 this year with the Panthers. Is that true or false? Winning season.
We go false. Too much to replace on defense.
Yeah, I think if there were just a couple of guys coming back, I think the offense is going to actually be pretty good. But yeah. I do think if there are a couple of guys coming back on that defense, I think that they would be just a little bit better. Okay, and then what everyone has been waiting for, how is the league going to shake out? What do we see for the title game? Who are the two teams that you have playing for the conference title in Conference USA?
So I've flipped and flopped around on this one for a little bit because I feel like everybody's got Liberty penciled in. So I've got them too, just with the talent that they have. They should be able to get back, but it's the second team, and I'm going with UTEP. I don't know. I think they're going to find a way with the back end of how that schedule plays out to slither in there and maybe surprise somebody, with that appearance. But that's what I'm rolling with.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a shock. Again, the schedule is not the worst in the world, and if those receivers and the quarterback play, when you've got an offense that can put up points, you can sometimes get on a roll and make it in. I considered them since moving to a divisionless format in 2022. Conference USA has had 3 different champions. If I'm with you, I think Liberty is pretty much a shoo-in to get in. They have been a conference champion, but the other teams that I was considering, if they were to win the league title, that would be 4 different champions in 4 years. I'm really going back and forth between Louisiana Tech, Western Kentucky, and Sam Houston. Yeah. I think I'm going to give the nod to Louisiana Tech because it gets Liberty, Western Kentucky, and Sam Houston all at home. That really is kind of the determining factor for me. I think that playing in the security of home, they also have been 4-12 in one-score games under Sonny Cumbie. That's got to flip at some point. So I think it's Liberty and Louisiana Tech in the title game. And I think that would be a very entertaining one because you would have two teams that at least going into the season look like they're going to be powered by their defenses.
Yeah, I agree. I could see them making it for sure. They were a team that I flirted with too. It's going to be a fun race, and it's something. There's parity in the league. There's so much changeover and everything else. How that middle segment, how the top couple teams, battle throughout the season to get to there is going to be awesome to watch. And I always look forward to it during the middle of the week. Something something to look forward to at the end of the day.
Yeah, a lot of people say, well, who's going to be watching these MAC games and these Conference USA games? But you know what? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when there's nothing else on, it's like, hey, we got a college football game or two on tonight.
Yeah.
And some of us who are gluttons for punishment and want to stay up till 11:30 at night on a Tuesday
Yeah.
can watch these teams play. And they'll be household names to us, maybe not to the college football population at large, but because we kind of get into this stuff and think it's fun, we'll kind of know what's going on. So anyway, very interesting show. I think you've brought a lot of insight. If folks want to find Gridiron Uncensored, where can they do it? On the internet, on social media, where can they find you?
Yeah, so really, I spent a lot of time on the Twitter X. So Gridiron Uncensored podcast. If you type us in the search bar there, or Kicking It with the Grid is that the handle. And the same, for YouTube and all the major podcast platforms. Just type in Gridiron Uncensored, and you'll find us there. And we'd love your company. We're doing season previews ourselves right now, and we're rolling through it. Just started with the SEC, so we're staying busy. We're pumping out content, and we hope to see you around.
It is the time of year for preview season. We're finishing ours up. A lot of people are getting theirs started. So there is not any scarcity of preview material on the internet. So if folks want to find it, they certainly can. And you guys are one of the more entertaining watches and listens out there. So you guys do a nice job. Thanks for coming on. We may try to touch base during the season, maybe just to revisit some of this, see how bad or well we have done. But we will be checking you out during the year and just kind of take it easy down the road. And again, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Mike, thank you so much for having me. It truly means a lot. And, hopefully we can have you on the show too down the line.
That would be great. I would be happy to come in. All right. Well, that's going to do it for now. We are going to be off with the pod until the first week of August. We'll be coming back on August the 6th. We're going to take a little bit of time off to do a revamp and have a mini summer vacation because I think everyone should be entitled to one before the season starts.
Yeah.
So until the beginning of August, everybody take it easy and we will see you soon.